All right, welcome to everyone who's here. This is our first webinar, and so we're really excited to have you here. We'd like to invite people to type their questions into the chat. And if you can't hear, if there's any problem with the audio, just make a message on the chat as well. So, what is New Culture? So New Culture is a very big picture project. It's about what does it take to create a world that is sustainable, without violence, and is based on love and freedom. And we've been working with this question for over 20 years now, I guess, in the Network for a New Culture. And what we do is we ask a lot of questions. We bring people together for events where we can explore a new way of being. And there's been a number of communities and organizations and groups that have grown out of New Culture. So one thing that we do is come together for these 10-day-long camps that are like a visit to a whole other world. This is a world where people ask for what they want, they speak their truth, they hear each other. We bring in presenters to teach about communication skills, we teach about boundaries, we try on new ways of being, and because we're together for 10 whole days, we get to not just take in information about how to be, but we get to actually practice it, we get to mess up, we get to get mentored in how to do it better, and we have a whole lot of fun learning how to live together in another way. Lots of people at our camps have had the experience. One person called it like taking, they say it's the first place where they've been able to truly be who they are on a deep level. So, Indigo, you want to share something about how coming to a New Culture camp has empowered you?
Yes. So my first New Culture summer camp was in 2015, and it completely transformed my life, and then transformed it again in 2016 when I came to work with Center for New Culture. And I have, from my first summer camp, I found that I was empowered to be my whole self, that every part of me was welcome, from the parts that are in shadow or that I'm told are not okay, like my sadness, my anger, my sexuality. Every part was welcome and is welcome. And that's one of the core tenets of New Culture, is radical acceptance. And I also found unique empowerment to say no, that I was respected as having ownership over my body, and that was radically different from how I'd been treated in mainstream or the dominant culture. And that stayed with me even to this day.
So one of the way the summer camp works is that we come together as a community, and we have sort of a frame of every day. At the beginning, we come together, we learn about how we're going to be together, we have morning meetings together, we have afternoons, and we have, in the evenings, we have sort of heart-opening, connecting experiences together. And we also bring in lots of presenters from outside who teach skills and help us with experiences that we'd like to have together. And this year, we are building on what we have done in the past by focusing on personal power and empowerment. We are looking into doing that in a number of ways. So one of the most core experiences of coming into New Culture is the experience of being at choice, that you get to choose at every moment what you do, how you do it, with whom you do it. And we see how far we can get in a culture that's built on that. We're looking to let go of shame and obligation and shoulds. And as Indigo said so eloquently, to be in a space where every part of the person is welcome. In order to make that work, we learn lots of other skills. We learn boundaries. We need to learn how to say no to what we don't want. We learn to communicate. We learn to be flexible and non-attached. So, you know, if we feel that we have to have a certain outcome, that's kind of like making a promise that we're going to be unhappy if we don't get what we want. So we learn to kind of shake that up. And so the very first part of our theme about power is continuing on this work of personal empowerment. And Indigo is going to speak a little more about that.
Yes. So our theme this year is extending our explorations of personal empowerment and examining our relationship broadly to power with love and authenticity. So the first part of that is claiming our personal power. So we have a birthright to joy, ecstasy, and we're taught to limit our emotions, to limit our power so that we can fit into the existing power structures. And we explore how we can give ourselves, allow ourselves pleasure, allow ourselves expression through movement, through energy and Tantra. And some of the workshops that we'll be bringing with incredible presenters are a Turn Your Heart On puja, exploring the pleasure channel and community, as well as dance freedom and Heartivist practices from Shea and Owl, and Melting into Movement by Atticus, who is on the call now. So I'm gonna...
Yeah, so I will be sharing Melting into Movement, which is my signature creation, I suppose, of actually empowerment. So I'm excited to hear what the theme is this year because I hadn't been privy to that information before. I find that through embodiment, through somatic experiences, which is basically body intelligence, we are empowered. We are self-empowered to access our highest truth and then live that out through our actions, through our interactions. And it really all starts for me in the body. And I love to share that with people because it's amazing the transformation I see within even just 2 hours. And of course, we see that magic with yoga, with any kind of sport, really, extreme sports especially, through dance, all kinds of dance. But this particular format I have found to be really powerful in the way of opening us up to the entire spectrum of emotions, from anger and fear and anxiety, anticipation, to joy and bliss and acceptance and curiosity and all of those things. So I'm very excited to share Melting into Movement with you all. And I will say that the gathering usually begins with ceremonial cacao and some sort of meditation to activate us into whatever our theme is for that night, which will likely be empowerment. So we'll have our cup of ceremonial cacao. We'll have our meditation to drop us fully into the experience, open us up to all possibilities. And then we'll move and we'll dance around with whatever emotions come up and whatever comes out. And aho, that is Melting into Movement.
Thank you, Atticus.
Thank you, Atticus.
And
You're welcome.
Indigo and I have both been to the Melting into Movement evenings that Atticus has done in the Washington, D.C. area, and they've been amazing, right?
Yeah, absolutely amazing. A peak experience every time.
Okay, so we have a number of pieces that include stretching, spreading our wings, stretching ourselves, moving into our own personal empowerment in a space of love and authenticity. And one space that is so important for that we're going to have this year, as we've had every year in the past, is the Zeg Forum. And that's a place where we come together as a community. We sit in a circle and we witness each other. And in that space, everyone is welcome and everyone is held. And what we're looking for in that space is whatever is underneath the surface in our community, what hasn't been named, what hasn't been brought forward. And we find that when we witness that with empathy and connection, we experience profound healing and profound growth and profound even deeper connection. And what's even better is that when difficult things surface in the forum, or when the community starts going into conflict, because, it's not all unicorns and roses at summer camp. I mean, there's a lot of that, but, our stuff comes up because we're together for 10 days. And when that happens, the forum is a place where that can be caught and held. And as we get to witness every single person's perspective and have empathy for it, then we feel motivated as a community to shift in ways that hold every single person. So I'm delighted that we're going to be continuing to do that. We have a larger forum team, I think, than ever before, because we've been training a lot of facilitators, and I'm just very excited to hold that resource again. So another piece that we'll be exploring, along with the personal empowerment, is looking at community structure. So we're together, and what does it take to make a community that really works? Well, in the mainstream culture, we have a lot of power over situations. We have a boss who says, this is how it is, this is how it has to be, and everybody else, just kind of sucks it up or whatever. And that is violent to our spirit and our soul. And then a lot of people in alternative culture go to the other extreme, where we feel that we need to throw away power structures altogether and have no power relationships. And then we get in a situation where nobody feels empowered to lead, because all the leaders get knocked down. In Australia, they call that cutting down the tall poppies. So how do we create a community where we are all empowered to lead, where we're all empowered to follow? Well, one thread that we've been holding for quite some years is boundaries training, where because we've been trained, a lot of us, to comply, it's very hard for us to say yes to what we want and no to what we don't want. And so in the boundaries training, we get to notice all those impulses to do something other than what's really our truth and untangle them. And I'm so delighted to be able to present that piece again this year. I find that people take that training, and every year they feel they expand more and learn more from it. So that's a delight for me. And we're going to be going deeper with this. And along with using that to heal some of our wounds about authority and power structure, I'm really thrilled to be leading a workshop called Exploring Rank. Now, rank can be sort of a difficult word for people, and I want to explain what I mean by that. What I call rank is our ability to use power in any situation. And that is super flexible and super dependent on who we're with. So there's some rank that gets handed to us from the mainstream culture, or how we were born, or whatever, how much money we have, maybe the color of our skin, how much education we've had. And so that can influence how much power we can exert. And there are other factors that are very individual. How much sleep I've gotten, how much work I've done on myself, how much my anxiety is acting up. Many people who have had deeply difficult experiences or illnesses come through the other side with immense personal psychological rank, because they've been through it and they're grounded and present. So rank is not an abstract thing. Rank is in a situation, a specific situation. So maybe if I were teaching a class at a university, which is what I used to do, I might have the rank in the room because I'm the professor. But if the power went out, suddenly the people who had electrical skills would have the rank. So it changes. And what I am going to be exploring with the group is, how do we recognize when we have power? What does it feel like when we're a little bit on the outside, or we don't quite have it? And how can we work with that harmoniously? How can we support people who have one kind of rank, which might be, the knowledge, the experience, the grounding, or whatever, but don't have another kind, which might be structural or institutional, or being in the boss or leader position? How can we support people when those two kinds of rank are in conflict, to make a decision that works for everyone? So important concepts are clarity and feedback, and really appreciating everybody's ability to use power and the skills that they have. And I find in a harmonious culture, everybody is supporting everybody else to come into a higher rank and into more power. So then I'm delighted that my dear friend Oblio is going to be joining us and co-presenting on, let's see, why don't you introduce your presentation?
Hey, I'm Oblio, and I've been working with New Culture since the year 2000, so it is a long-term relationship for me. And I really appreciate what my friend Sarah was sharing about bringing conscious ways of bringing us all into in uplifted rank together. The thing that I really appreciate about New Culture is that there's more and more layers of consciousness that unfold the more that I show up. So even if you've been there before, there's a new set of people, and we're somewhere different in our evolution, what we're looking at. So you've probably heard and noted that what we talk about is ways that we can show up and that every part of us is welcome. And that is very much true. And the unfolding of that consciousness is, how do we create an environment where everyone is welcome? I find at New Culture, folks really want to invite and cultivate a space where people can just show up. And sometimes there's some unconsciousness. Part of consciousness is realizing places where we're unconscious. And I realize for me, I only have the lens that I have. And it's constantly, again, like the onion unfolding and shedding more light in. So what we're going to be working on, my workshop, along with Crystal, is going to be who's on the allyship. And what that means is looking at ways that we can consciously look at our unconscious biases, and find ways to support one another through just learning what we don't know, and create and fostering an environment where all of us can really start showing up in all that we are. And something else we talk a lot about at A New Culture is being at choice. And we can't really be at choice until we understand how power and rank has shaped some of the ideas that we have about what is possible, or what our choices are, or what is possible for other people and what their choices are. So we're going to be unfolding that onion in the workshop to find out greater ways to be a deeper choice, more conscious ways to engage each other, and lovingly look at some of our unconscious bias that may unintentionally not foster an environment that allows all of us to bring our whole selves to the table.
So New Culture Summer Camp 2017 is happening July 7th to 16th, about 2.5 hours from Washington, D.C. and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And you can find more information on the internet at, I'm typing into the chat, cfnc.us/sce.html. Okay? And if you think of questions after this call, then you can contact either myself, Indigo at cfnc.us, or Sarah at cfnc.us.